This is a Hot Pie Original.
This interview was well done. It was. Was it easy to pull off? Yeah, once you're sitting down, I think it is. But the interview was well done. The questions are and were exactly what most of us want to be answered. I would say, you know what, Fox News yahoos, this is what you're supposed to do when you have Joe Biden in front of you or Donald Trump in front of you or Barack Obama in front of you or anybody for that matter that's in office or critical of policy. You ask freaking questions and don't kiss ass the whole time. This is the way it should be. The interview was well done, and I don't know what your takeaway is, but Joe Biden needed to do this interview post Afghanistan pullout, post the optics of the pullout being what they were, a disaster, a hard to believe disaster. So he needed to do this. He did the right thing. He sat down, had the guts to do it. And I thought did a pretty good job of explaining, Biden's answer to the last, 3 days or so, or that day. His answer is, and maybe once we're removed from it a little bit, it does make some sense. Now, I'm going to caution this, and you may disagree. I think he blew it, the whole thing. I think he ended up blowing it. But his answer for why it looked the way it did, why people are hanging from the tires, and why we found a body inside the plane, and the chaos of getting out of Afghanistan was going to be chaos no matter what. There was no better way. There's no non-chaotic way to get out. He may be right. In fairness, that may be right. And he did answer that way. And he did answer pretty clearly. And he did answer, I think, pretty directly. But you know what? And that's not the interviewer's fault. The interviewer's there to be a thinking human being, Fox News. Thinking human being. I thought he was pretty clear, but he ruined it. His anger and defensiveness not only was not a good look, his anger and defensiveness ruined the messaging. And I'll bet you somebody behind the door back there is thinking, don't lose your temper, old man. Oh, and he lost his temper. Listen, we live in we live in a culture of, we're lacking some intellects, okay? We're not real sharp. We are completely biased. We are stupid for the most part. We don't understand nuance. We don't understand objectivity. We just don't want any of that stuff. And so if I were a communications person, I would never do this with anyone in politics because I think the industry sucks and it's pathetic and despicable. But any communications person would tell you that don't ruin the message. His anger ruined his messaging. He had to believe when he sat down. This is what I don't understand. I know the guy is frustrated. We're all frustrated. Thinking people are frustrated with being in Afghanistan and getting out of Afghanistan. And I know he's probably frustrated that our takeaway is it looks so ugly. And he's saying it's going to look ugly no matter what. Yeah, I get you're frustrated. But when you sat down to agree to this interview, you couldn't lose your temper. You had to know this was coming. You had to know you were going to be forced to explain, and credit to you for sitting down to do it. That's what you should do when you work for the taxpayers. But when you snapped, it was a bad look, and I think you kind of ruined the whole thing, because the takeaway is, with Americans lacking intellect and nuance, the takeaway is, why is that guy so angry? That's the takeaway, not, I see the point. Yeah. Interesting. What's going to be chaotic? Yeah, that's a good point there, Mr. President. No, most people, their takeaway is, why are you so mad?
When you look at what's happened over the last week, was it a failure of intelligence, planning, execution, or judgment?
Look, I don't think it was a failure. Look, it was a simple choice, George. When the Taliban, let me put it another way. When you had the government of Afghanistan, the leader of that government getting in a plane and taking off and going to another country, when you saw the significant collapse of the Afghan troops we had trained, up to 300,000 of them, just leaving their equipment and taking off. That was, that's what happened. That's simply what happened.
But we've all seen the pictures. We've seen those hundreds of people packed into a C-17. We've seen Afghans falling.
That was 4 days ago, 5 days ago.
What did you think when you first saw those pictures?
What I thought was we have to gain control of this. We have to move this more quickly. We have to move in a way in which we can take control of that airport. And we did.
So you don't think this this actually could have been handled better in any way? No mistakes?
No, I don't think it could have been handled in a way that we're going to go back in hindsight and look, but the idea that somehow there's a way to have gotten out without chaos ensuing, I don't know how that happens. I don't know how that happened.
So for you, that was always priced into the decision?
Yes.
Wow. Well done. Well done. Thoughtful, pointed, direct, critical. Well done. Intellect. Try it. Some people try it. Joe Biden, he's under a ton of pressure. Yep. So his answers may be correct. Okay. The guy was about to come out of his skin. That look, and it does matter. I'm sorry to say it does matter. Do I think he was as combative as a lot of people are portraying this? No, I don't think that at all. But I do think it was odd. He was oddly really angry. I mean, he just had this look where he's almost like he's shaking. Like, what is it you're about to drop an F-bomb? What? F you. I don't know. It's the takeaway, which I think some people are willing to almost accept. Maybe you're right. Maybe it's pretty tough to just load up and get out. I thought making the case about the whole thing started falling apart where the president bailed. It's a good point. He's right. The theater of that moment could have been so much better. And I'm willing to bet, because he's not surrounded by buffoons, I'm willing to bet somebody said, let's cool off. You're getting a ton of heat. It's a bad look, man. When people falling out of the sky, it's a bad look, Mr. President. So we got to own it's a bad look. Don't get pissed. Okay? Joe, you okay? Have some soup. Don't get mad. And he got mad. And he has no right to get mad at us or the interviewer, George Stephanopoulos, who did a thinking interview. The president has no right in that moment to be frustrated with us. He has no right in that moment to basically give you the look of, what, you don't know what's going on, you buffoons? No. You need to shut up, settle down. You owe us an explanation. And I felt like it looked like and sounded like that man wanted no part of trying to explain to us. Just got to check yourself a little bit better. You do. Because I think, unfortunately, for Biden and for those of us trying to be somewhat open-minded, some of us wanted out. Some of us did. Some of us want to believe, we don't want to believe it was this horrible. We don't want to believe we screwed that up. We don't want to believe that. It looks like we screwed it up and had no planning. And I think he needed to do a better job of saying, listen, let me tell you how the dominoes fell on this, and it is unfortunate, and the look is awful, and I hate it. I hate it. We all hate it. The dominoes were set in play when the Afghan president bailed, and it set people off. We are frustrated and have been frustrated for years that we have armed and trained that Afghan army, and they have not lived up to what we thought they would. They have not lived up to their deal, and we have grown growingly concerned that they are not going to do the job. It became pretty clear. Our only option on this day at this time, knowing those two things, was to get in there and get as many people out as we could. And you better believe we were terrified it would be chaotic, and sadly it was. And I hate it. But there was no day, no time, no look that was going to get any better, unfortunately. And I'm sorry for that. I mean, just for a guy who seems to come off as empathetic a lot, this was a moment where he needed some, man. You needed some. Because you got, rightly so, people are critical. The Fox News crowd's going to eat you alive. And the Fox News crowd, you gave them a pass because you acted like you were pissed. You were. And you didn't sell what we did very well. And if you were selling it, you ruined it by the end. That's my takeaway. I don't know about the rest of you. And I think it's really important that we do care. We should try to care for a change. Let's try that. I thought the interview pacing was perfect. The questions were right on. The grilling was exactly what those are the things that needed to be said. That had to happen. That needed to happen. Joe Biden and anyone in office that works for us, get this Fox crowd, get this, they work for us, needed to be grilled in this moment. And I found him oddly angry to the point that when you watch it, I'm not sure you get the audio, does it quite as well, but when you watch it, man, they did a nice job of getting the camera close to him. Is really frustrated. And it would have been a good time to take a deep breath. If you can sense the frustration, George, you can tell. I'm frustrated. I hated what happened. But I'm telling you, we had no choice but to do it. And we had no choice but to risk the chaos. And unfortunately, it got chaotic. There you go. Instead of, he is like, that guy was at the point of, it looked like he was at the point of saying, listen, little man, don't you understand my tough job? I look like a guy who had the weight of the world was about to explode.
John McClellan is the co-founder and creator of ATX Hot Sauce in all 50 states, now in several retail outlets as well. So we're going to turn it over to the social media rock chef superstar, and we're going to walk through a few sauces and why you should buy. We've done beat heat. So we're second in line now for the tasting. Don't forget, everyone, go to atxhotsauce.com. So here we go.
All right. So this one is our smoked habanero 5-pepper. We smoke habaneros with ancho, pasilla.
Is that going to hurt?
This one? No,
Yeah.
This one's actually really, really good.
Okay.
This is like your traditional tapatilla, but without the vinegar in it, right? And because of that fermentation process that we've talked about all the time. This one is great on sandwiches, pizzas, things like that. Great on hot wings. I think you're going to really like this one too, especially the smoky flavor with the adobe chipotle and the smoked habaneros. We actually smoked the habaneros before we.
Does that go with the cab?
This would not go with the cab. This would go with the great Chenin Blanc, though.
I knew you were gonna. I teed you up with that one.
Yeah.
That is good.
That's good. Isn't that good? It's just classic take. Well, it's a new take on a classic item. It's called smoked habanero 5-pepper.
All right, don't forget
One of my
ATX.
favorites.
Don't forget atxhotsauce.com.
Part of getting out of Afghanistan is another really bad look and pretty dangerous thing. Get this. U.S. News and World Report is reporting between 2003 and 2016, the United States, that's you, transferred 75,898 vehicles, 599,690 weapons, 162,643 pieces of communications equipment, 208 aircraft, 16,191 pieces of intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance equipment to the Afghan forces. 2017 to 2019, Afghan forces, 7,035 machine guns. There's a point to this. 4,702 Humvees, 20,040 hand grenades, 2,520 bombs, 1,394 grenade launchers. You know why I'm bringing that up? They've got the stuff. That's there. It's left behind. 46 aircraft are now in Uzbekistan. That is a bad place. No. That's lawless there. 500 Afghan troops used them to flee as the government in Kabul collapsed. So, I think it's pretty obvious that we've now seen the pictures of these Taliban fighters with our stuff. It's $83 billion in training and equipment. I said $83 billion in training and equipment. Most of it, some of it is left behind. Now what? How did that happen? That's a bad look. You mean we left and we forgot the stuff? We left and we forgot grenade launchers. We forgot jets. We forgot bombs. We forgot Humvees. Yeah, we left it behind. Uh-oh. There's an answer for it, but uh-oh. Taliban photos are circulating of Taliban fighters clutching U.S.-made M4 carbines and M16 rifles instead of their iconic AK-47s. Militants have been spotted with U.S. Humvees and mine-resistant ambush-protected vehicles. Elias Yusuf, deputy director of the Center for International Policy, says, quote, when an armed group gets their hands on American-made weaponry, it's sort of a status symbol. It's a psychological win. Clearly, he says, this is an indictment of the U.S. security cooperation enterprise broadly. It really should raise a lot of concerns about the wider enterprise that is going on every single day, whether it's in the Middle East, Sub-Saharan Africa, or East Asia. In other words, most of you probably have caught on to this. The pictures are pretty uncomfortable. Our stuff is there. Well, I thought, man, is there a better plan? If you know you're going to leave, what do you do with the stuff? And so the military is now answering to that and saying it would be impossible to round up our stuff and take it out. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the answer there either. But we now know if your fear is bad people doing bad stuff, they've now got military weapons, U.S. weapons, to do really bad stuff. The U.S., the White House is saying, listen, we couldn't get everything out. Jake Sullivan, White House National Security Advisor. We don't have a complete picture of where every article of defense materials has gone, but certainly a fair amount of it has fallen into the hands of the Taliban. We don't have a sense that they're going to readily hand it over to us at the airport. He's got a point. Like, what are we going to do? It'd take us months to gather up all of our gear. He says those Black Hawks were not given to the Taliban. They were given to the Afghan National Security Forces to be able to defend themselves. This is part of the reason, to be fair, part of the reason why, Joe Biden and others are furious, and that is this Afghan army has just given up and it's given the bad guys all the stuff. We gave it to them to defend themselves, is the White House's argument, and now they're giving our stuff to the bad guys, and they've given up. Yeah, that sucks. Yeah, that's believable. Then we're back to the fundamental question: was there not a better plan? You sure you had to leave the grenades? You couldn't load those up? He's saying, once we gave it to them, we can't track the stuff. We have been arming that Afghan army for a long time. We've given them almost $100 billion in military equipment. So how are we going to make them turn it over? We don't even know where they are. They took some airplanes and left. Ugh. Here you go. Sullivan goes on to say, they were given to the Afghan National Security Forces to be able to defend themselves at the specific request of the president. Not our president, the Afghan president. He left too. Who came to the Oval Office and asked for additional air capability. The president had a choice. He could not give it to them with the risk that they would fall into the Taliban's hands eventually, or he could give it to them with the hope that they could deploy it in service of defending their country. Both of those options had risks. He had to choose, and he made a choice. Yeah. I mean, it's a good point. And I mean, for that matter, for 20 years, every president, including Trump, although he wouldn't answer for it, may have been part of arming them. And then it's left to try to round it up or clean it up when we leave. And we didn't or couldn't. So, yeah, there's real fear now, real concern. They got a lot of stuff. Yeah, what do we do? You know what's going to happen now. 24 Republican senators demanded a full accounting of U.S. military equipment given to Afghan forces over the past 12 months. Notice how they're not going to do it over the time that Trump was president. This is Biden's mess in every way, and they're going to make sure of it. what's been seized by the Taliban, and what plans there are to recapture or destroy the equipment. Well, good luck with that. Who wants that job? Yeah, this one is going to be a political hot button. Maybe you think it should. But I do at some level kind of understand the comeback, and that is president after president has answered their president and said, what do you need? And we gave it to them, and now they've all bailed, and they're left with the stuff. The bad guys have all the military stuff. Oof. This one is going to be hearing after hearing, blame after blame. The finger's going to be pointed. Hey, Joe and Democrats, why did you leave our stuff behind?
From the Hot Pie Media Studios in Austin, Texas, it's the Jeff Ward Show. Listen at jeffwardshow.com.